Okay, we are Tav Tavites Sif Dalid. Ein mochin is a chalavim na mahapchim behem afil l'shat charagav yisedos. If you have chalavim fats that you want to use for soaps or for candles, things that they used to use chaylev. They used to use it for different things. So in order to preserve it, they used to salt it. So you can't salt chalavim, even if it's just a little bit of salt, which all you need is a little bit of salt. But since that's the ibud of it, you can't salt it. Even though we said by the hide, we said that if you shecht it, it's gonna go liibud. So we let you put it in a place where it can be stepped on and whatever. But chalavim we don't let. And you can't, flip them because it also helps, or put it on top of something to dry out. Even though you shechted on yontav, you can't go ahead and salt meat on top because this is really ma'abed. This is the ibud of chalavim. Therefore, it's aser. Eli shehu daf av v'chaved, and Eli, which is a big chopping block. The klihu, that's called a kli. Any cutting board also be called a kli, anything like that. Eli shemalachto leiser lichtosh b'harifos. It's just a kli shemalachto leiser because it's made for smashing rifos or like stocks and things or whatever. If you want to use it instead to go ahead and to chop meat on it, that's fine, because it's kli shemalachto leiser. Even though it wasn't muchan on Yom Tov or more machmir and muksa, it wasn't muchan for this thing, but it's okay. Also the however, after you go ahead and you chop on it, it's also to move it. Unless you're going to use it again, obviously. Then it's also to move the letzeil. The chiddush of this halacha is basically saying that even though yes, on Yom Tov we're machmir for muktzah, the kli shemalachto leiser is nechshav muchan klape any use you need it for or gufa or makomo. It's not considered something which is not al daitai. Tough kuf. Ein konim basar pisuk damim. We're getting into different. If a person doesn't have meat and he needs to go to the butcher to get meat on Yom Tov, what do you do? Ein konim basar pisuk damim. You can't go in and say, listen, okay, I'll pay you 20 for it or whatever. You can't say, give me a cello worth of meat. Or say, no, I'm not selling it, I'll be a shutuf with you, or things like that, words like that. Whatever is usual to give out on the butcher would have to cut up specific pieces. Obviously, we're talking about over here. He's taking it, not paying on Yom Tov. Obviously, he's taking it, and he'll pay him after Yom Tov. So it's also to say, I'll go give me this amount or whatever. But if he has set pieces that are sliced already, this 200 grams, whatever it is, so that he could just and he can give that out. That's fine. You want to get a pack of deli or something. That's fine. Maybe shtei behemos, and he can bring two behemos a yom or zukazu, and then he can bring two behemos and say, well, whatever you gave me from this one, whatever you'll give me today, I'll give you back from this behema or something like that, because that's like a chalipin, it's like a kinyan. Well, the machar shamin and yisheres if yisheshava kach yifralo, that would be okay. Sorry. That maybe he can go ahead and bring shtei behemoth v'yomer zukazu l'machar shamin al nisheres hishava kach yifralo, and then you make a cheshbon from the other cow. That's okay, because that's not a clear mekach memkar. Hagav yesh amin dafka b'Yisrael gal b'Yisrael shari ke'egavna. Only Yisrael to Yisrael is mutter in that saying this will take part of this animal, whatever it is. as a shutfus. Yisrael im any Yehudi if you look at Gavna also because it's not. We don't generally make shutfus with goyim with animals and things or whatever. There are cholkim and because it looks more like it's not normal, so it looks like you're making a mekachol memkar. Now there are those who are cholkim. However, it's better to be machmir. Again, these things aren't so common. Maybe it would be common as we know to let's say you need to buy medicines and things like that. Or you go to a gemach, medicine gemach, things like that. So then you have to be careful about. Sometimes they're from pharmacies open on Yom Tov. Oh, I need this and this. You can't mazkir money. You just say, okay, take this, and it's understood you'll give it back. Things like that, but you can't be mazkir any sort of money. I'll pay you to anything like that. Also, lishkol basar fil bebeisai. It's also to weigh meat in your house. Leida kama yuvashel, to know how much you have to go ahead and you need to cook. Or feel little bakafal zayim, the shamar min achbarim also. Even to put it, you have a big scale, and the mice that you want to save it from the mice, you put it on the scale. It's also to do that. Im heat tluya b'makom shregil lishko. If it's in the regular place, hanging in the regular place, people put scales. If it's like, for instance, in your kitchen. But if it's in if you have a scale somewhere else, moznaim, so then you can put it there. Feel lishkol mana, because mana also, even if you're just checking one mana negative another mana, it's still also to go ahead with the whole, and if really you can't go ahead and weigh things on Yom Tov. However, you can estimate the weight in your hand. You can go ahead and you can take, okay, this I know is this much, so you can take the other hand and try to estimate, that's okay. But tabach uman, however, a butcher who knows what he's doing, feels that also, because we say that that is mamash shkila, because that's derech mekach memkar, because he knows exactly, he's so used to it, he knows exactly how much each thing weighs. If you could just look at a piece and say, yeah, no, it's just, this weighs this one, you can figure it out from cutting it, even though he knows how much this thing weighs, that's okay. And a couple of nakudas here, that, you do say that, measuring, matzah, tzarech mitzvah, like you want to weigh matzahs, that's what you're meaning, to weigh matzahs, so that it's the place can bring that you can go and bring a Pesach Zvir, says that for a mitzvah brings a Shulchan Aruch, you can model the Tzarech mitzvah, so the place can bring whatever. So therefore, it could be it's okay for a mitzvah. A couple other just interesting nakudas here. This is still a side point, but I just want curious to point it out. Not negea to Yom Tov, but negea to Shkila. There's a din in the Choshen Mishpat, it's in Parshas Kiseitze, about you have to have Eifat Tzedek. You have to be sure you have weights which are exact. Just on the side point, there's an issue to be machzik, a scale in your house which you would use for business, which is not exact. So meaning, if you go ahead and you have a regular, cheap scale, it's also for you to use that for any sort of, you have some meat or something, you want to weigh your matzah, you want to weigh and sell it to your neighbor, or whatever it is. It's also to do that because this is not an accurate scale, not a commercially accurate scale. So therefore, it would still be also to go ahead and to use a scale like that, unless something which was actually commercially checked by whatever, it wouldn't use it. People make a mistake in that, and they think, well, I can just weigh it, whatever. There's an isser, even if the other person's meichel, there's an isser of Evan Shlema and things and whatever. I had a question here: why is it a mutter for the tabach to go ahead and to weigh with his hands? Who says that's not efatetic? That's not a real, that's a scale. It's not exact. So the pshat is that since either it's on a scale, it's just his hands, and it's not a big deal. Only Isser's with a scale. Or else, I mean, that's a simple pshat. You could say, well, maybe because since he knows exactly and he can tell, so it is an accurate scale. That's what seems to be why it's usher over here. Okay, just a ha'ara. Sif Gimel. Ein noikvin nekev v'basar v'sakin litlosabo. We don't make a hole, punch a hole in a piece of meat with a knife so you can hang it on a hook. Mutter, but you can, because that's dark of chol, whatever. But if you go ahead and you take your finger and somehow stick it through, that's okay. It's a shina. V'imlasus bo simin. If you make like a simin on it, you want to make a big S for Schwartz. I don't know, whatever on it. Mutter. I can't do an S, but you do whatever. You do a squiggle. That would be mutter. A feel of a sakin to make a simin. That's you're not writing. You just do like you cut a corner, whatever it is. It's not actually writing, but that would be okay with a sakin because that's not like it brings the Gemara in Chulin. It says he used to, that Ravuna used to cut in a triangle, so they knew it was his. Things like that. Not that you actually write a simin. That's Mishavur's Beferish. Molgim harosh haglayim. Meliga again is to go ahead and you want to take off the hair. Molgin in hot water. Molgin harosh haglayim. Mahavim ma'isam ba'or. Also another different. Or you can, the way to take it off is you lightly roast it in a fire, and it helps get the hair off or burns the hair off. About ein teifel ma'isam besid. You can't put hair removal cream on it to get the hair off. V'lo b'charsis. Or other types of stuff. Harsis adama. You can't put mud on it to listen. I'm sure people can ask your wives what stuff is used to go ahead and waxing. I don't know, whatever. Don't put that on dead animals' skins to take the hair off. That was usher. And nor can you cut the hair, even though yes, there's no ziza because again we're talking about the animals dead. But because that doesn't look like you're doing for the meat, it looks like you're doing gziza, which looks like you're doing a malacha and yontiv, nothing to do with ochel nefesh. Mutar limloach kama chatichos evas achas. You're allowed to salt a bunch of pieces of meat together. Even though you only need one, so you're allowed to go ahead and do a bit of harama. Because you shech, the person shechs an animal. There's a whole bunch of meat there. What's going to be? It's going to go bad. It's going to have dam. It's going to have problems. So you only need one. But once you're salting, so it's not a tircha to go ahead and to just throw salt all over 5 pieces as opposed to one. However, hagav yesham delo shari laharim v'akolim achil shachar. It's the only time it's mutter to do harama. Now this is also idea of harama also that we're going to see by bishul, afia, whatever, that if you want to cook a lot, want to bake a lot, but say for the next day, say it's 2 days for the next day for a chol, whatever, and so you have to be careful how much you put in and not, but there's the idea of harama to go in, we'll see then about putting extra in, when is that allowed or not. Chupanim over here by Melicha is only motor shachar, is because then it could say, well, yeah, that's it could be he could use it for today. It's shaykh. We'll just make a huge barbecue, invite everyone over, whatever it is. But al chupanim, if it's in the middle of the day and he has to salt it, it's pretty obvious he's not using it for using it. We're doing loch habasar b'yamtiv. You're allowed to salt meat on yamtiv. Even if you could have done it erev yamtiv, it's still okay. You're allowed to do it. Because it could be that if you leave it sit and salt for too long, there's different cheshbonos that it's better to do it right away because you have to soak it, different things like that. You better to do it right before you go ahead and you start cooking it. So therefore, it's mutter. Norgin lenaker basar b'yamtiv is the minig to go. We're allowed to. The minig is to go ahead and do nikur But Nikur is all the Gidanashe and all the Chalavim, which Ashkenazim don't have a Masar anymore about doing it. I mean, at least in the back half. In the front half, taking off different pieces we do have, you're allowed to go ahead, but real Nikur, we don't have such a Masar on Malkopanim. If you know what you're doing, then it's Mutter on Yom Tov. If I feel Nishchat Me'erev Yom Tov, you still be allowed to do it. V'toiv, L'shanos K'tzas, it's better to go ahead and do a little bit of a Shinui, and Yuchol L'shanos Ve'etzadover, if there's a way you could go ahead and do some sort of Shinui, use a slightly different knife if you can, you do a different knife than usual to do the Nikur, or other things. But again, don't, it's only because it looks like you're doing malacha, but don't play around. A person, starts doing the shinu, I'm going to start doing nikur with my left hand, and thereby, you're not going to do proper nikur, you come to shilos of karis, and I don't know what, and lavin, then it's okay. You don't do that. Only if the shinu is not going to go ahead and pogea in taking out everything else. Also, the person can talk about when can you do hadacha on Shabbos, on Yom Tov, and no, you're allowed to, whatever. All these things, again, this is all hechsher for tzarech achila, and we're mekel, and we're generally mekel. And Tavkuf Aleph. Ein mevakin eitzim min hakayros she'ondos lebinyan. If you have wood which a person's going to build, let's say he has it's Shabbos right before Sukkot, and he has pieces of wood he's going to build a sukkah with. You can't go ahead and you need fire. Let's say it doesn't really work out because we're talking about Yom Tov. It'll work out for Sukkot, whatever. It's for a binyan, whatever it is. Maybe it was left over, I'm not sure. Then you can't chop a piece off, or break it, of the wood to use for your fire. Because it's not, they're muksa, they're not mukhanin, you're building with them, you person here in Eretz Yisrael, the kids put aside a bunch of wood for Lag BaOmer fire, it's for fire, so I don't know, it could be it's okay. But I don't know, that could be Levi Muktzah also. So that would, you can't use that wood. Afilu im ha'isav ru'ah me'erev Yom Tov v'korban l'yishaver, you could tell, this thing's gonna break and whatever, unless you thought about it. But in Nishbra b'erev Yom Tov, if it broke erev Yom Tov, im I efshar lahasika below bikuah, if you can't just take the piece without chopping it, mavakim imena chatichas gedolos, you could go ahead and just cut off big pieces. Lo yivake lo berkardim lo mamagel, you're not allowed to do bikuah with an axe or a hatchet or anything like that, a little migera or a saw. Ela b'kofitz, you have to use a knife. Kofitz is a cleaver. You can use a cleaver. Pir sakin shel katzavi, v'yesh oitzim bo shnei roshim, the mektsas l'kardum, and they do some of the cleavers are two double-sided, so that's done a little bit to a kardum, but tzada kotzer shelo. Therefore, if you have a cleaver which has two sides to it, so therefore you use the smaller side, not the big side. We don't know exactly what the koifetz of the Chazal is talking about. And the only thing you can use is a knife to go ahead and chop chunks of wood off to go ahead and to put it in the fire. Eitzim gedolim. If you have, and again, it also has to be big pieces because otherwise you get into chayos of teichen and different things like that. Eitzim gedolim k'tzas ruyin lahasaka. If you have big pieces of wood and then you want to, throw in the fireplace or burn whatever below bikuah. Without that they're big, they're small enough you can stick them in the fire without breaking it up. Lo yivakeh kol. Then it's also to go ahead and do that. Afilu l'shabram biyad, even to break them apart is even biyad even to go ahead and to break it by hand. There are those who aser the Rosh, whoever asks you from doing it. That's their chol and different things like that. It's also to go ahead and gather wood from a field, even if they were there before Yom Tov. But you can go ahead and collect from if it's right outside your house. If there's a field or whatever yard right outside the house, you'll have to go ahead and collect from there. Now you can't go collect from the soda out in the outside the city or whatever. But if it's right next to your house, you're allowed to go ahead and collect some wood from there. You can take from the chotzer, and you can go ahead and you can light a fire there, and then use it over there. And you're allowed to go ahead and take wood which was gathered in a Rishus Yachid, even if it's in a karpav, it's Mukhav Shaloshem Dira. As long as they're in some sort of there's some sort of frame or border around the wood, so that it's like put aside kilu. If you have a Tchum Shabbos, and it has to be, this is also inside the Tchum Shabbos. If it's in a misgeret, if it's in some sort of like say a sandbox would be considered a misgeret. So if you have a sandbox here, so you put it in there, that would be considered okay. That's muchan. If they're all in one area, that would be muchan, and it's in tchum and whatever. So you can collect from there, even if it's not right in front of your house or anything like that. Even though it looks like ma'amer, but it's not, and then that would be okay. So dawud ali kanim v'ali gefanim. If you have twigs or leaves from gefanim, from different things or whatever, avabi shehem mechunosim berkarpef. Even if they're in a karpef, again, this is lomish kafef shalem dira. Kimash haruach mefuzaris l'samarim kimefuzarim. Since the wind blows them around, so therefore they're considered mefuzarim, even if they're in it's in the mizgeret and the karpef. If you put something heavy on them, before not a rock, if you can't move that, or a kli kaveh, a pot, something like that, then they're considered muchan, and you can go ahead and you can use them on Yom Tov.